And I'd like to ask Mr. Godfrey if he'd lead us in a word of prayer.
All bow your heads and pray with me if you will. Our kind, gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for being here tonight, dear Lord, for keeping everybody safe as they came down. I pray, Lord, that you'd be with us during this meeting, Lord, that we would do your will, and that, Father, we would do what's best for the students and the stakeholders of Harnett County, dear Lord, that we would strive to make our schools better and better and better, Father. Lord, be with us tonight, Lord. Carry us back home safely. Look after each and every one, dear Lord. For us in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. And Mr. Hare, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Are there any adjustments needed to the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the agenda as presented.
Have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, the chairman votes aye.
Abate, aye.
Gainey, aye.
Godfrey, aye.
Hearing no nay votes, the motion is approved. Let's move along now to, we have two special presentations tonight, and they indeed are special. And our first one is our Academic Growth Award presentation. And Ms. Ferguson, we'll turn it over to you.
Mr. Chairman Powell, members of the board, Mr. Matthews will help me present to the schools their academic awards for this year. The Department of Public Instruction is pleased to congratulate Harnett County Schools for our school's performance during the 23-24 school year. Whether for academic growth or graduation rate, these certificates showcase the dedication to academic achievement in the school system of both students and educators. And we will begin with the first award, the Certificate for Outstanding Graduation Rate at 95.8%. It is presented to the Harnett County Early College. Dr. Jasmine Nixon. Okay, she is sick.
Ms. Mason is sick today, but she
Certainly
has an
understand
able
that.
standing. Thank you. Congratulations.
The next award is the North Carolina Exceeded Academic Growth Award. It is proudly presented to the following schools for exceeding the goal of exceeding academic progress for the students for 23-24. And the first school recognized will be Dunn Middle School, Mrs. Megan West. Also receiving this award is Western Harnett Middle School, Mrs. Grizel Quadrado. Next, we would like to recognize the schools for the North Carolina Academic Growth Award. This award is proudly presented to the following schools for achieving the goal of expected academic progress for students for 23-24 school year. And our first school is Ben Haven Elementary, Dr. Laura Street. Bush Creek Elementary, Mr. Brian Graham. Coates Elementary, Mrs. Jamie West. Irwin Elementary, Dr. Stephen Murphy. Harnett County Early College. Harnett Virtual Academy, Mrs. Dawn Young. Highland Middle School, Mrs. Britton Sullivan. Johnsonville Elementary, Mrs. Renee Gilmore. Lafayette Elementary, Mrs. Elizabeth Hodge. Northwest Harnett Elementary, Dr. Kimberly Smith. Overhills Elementary, Mrs. Tracy Lebowski. Overhills Middle School, Dr. Benika Thompson. South Harnett Elementary, Mr. Thomas Backus. Triton High School, Mr. Marshall Jones. And along with our academic awards tonight, we are also excited to honor Ben Haven Elementary and Dr. Laura Street for the U.S. News and World Report published their 2025 Best Elementary Schools. And Ben Haven Elementary placed at number 317 in the schools in North Carolina. And this is their second year in a row.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Ferguson, and big congratulations to each of you. I'd like to thank each of you principals for all of your hard work. You know, for all your hard work, as you often hear me say, to make Harnett County schools among the very best, and in our goal to become the very best schools in the state of North Carolina. We can't do it without you and your strong leadership and all of your hard work. So thank you so much for all that you do for us. Thank you. Okay, moving along to our public comment, and each month, a part of at least one regularly scheduled board meeting will be set aside for citizens to address the board through public comment. A sign-up sheet is available for any individual or group to indicate their desire to address the board. The chairman will decide the amount of time devoted to public comments. The superintendent shall develop additional procedures to ensure that public comment sessions proceed in an efficient and orderly manner. Board members will not respond to individuals who address the board except to request clarification of points made by the presenter. Except in cases of emergency, information received during presentations will not be acted upon at the time it is received. It will take unanimous vote of the board members present to take action on a presentation considered to be of an unusual or emergency nature at the time it is presented. Disruptions by any person or persons of a public meeting will be subject to action in accordance with General Statute 143-318-17. If the board does not hold a regular meeting during a month, the board will not provide a time for public comment at any other meeting held during that month unless a majority of the board votes to allow public comment at the meeting or unless the purpose of the meeting is a public hearing. So participants can speak up to 3 minutes, and we have our very first one is Mr. Jerry Rivas. So if the speakers are coming forward, if you tell us what part of the county you're from, we'd greatly appreciate that.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
may I ask that all that speak tonight, please speak up with a loud voice so we can clearly hear you.
Thank you, Mr. Godfrey.
Yeah, I live in the southern part of Harnett County. This concerns the joint resolution that is on your agenda, further down the agenda. between the Board of Commissioners and the school board about using schools as polling places. This morning, I made the comment that I think Superintendent Matthews ought to resign from either his position here or his position on the chair as on the Board of Commissioners. You're spreading yourself way too thin, and something just stinks about this whole situation going on. I don't know how, but you know, when you perceive something is wrong, there's usually something wrong. There's usually truth in perception. And I noticed tonight y'all are giving out a lot of awards for meeting expectations. I noticed you didn't give any awards out for exceeding expectations. In 2023, 2024, 53% of Harnett County schools are underperforming. 53.6%. North Carolina is ranked 46th in the United States on the money that's spent per student. I have 10 grandchildren that are enrolled in Harnett County schools, 5 in middle school or high school. And I almost weep when I ask them, what's the First Amendment to the Constitution? What's the Fifth Amendment? What's the Fourth Amendment? What's the 14th Amendment? Can anybody here tell me what the 14th Amendment is? It's pretty important. You know, that's the one that says a black man is more than 3/5 of a man. He is a whole man. It also gives the right to due process. When did the school stop teaching government and civics? When did the school stop having textbooks? I mean, you know, it's ridiculous to do all this remote learning. These kids aren't learning anything remotely. They're goofing off all day. There's still a lot of parts of this county that don't have decent internet accessibility, so a lot of kids have trouble signing on. But anyway, and school security, that's your whole issue, supposedly, about not using school as a polling place. What about the other 163 days of the year where early voting is not going on? I can go to Highland Elementary right now and walk right in the back door of that school because you got all these temporary huts out there that don't even have bathrooms for these kids. They got to walk out of that classroom and walk all the way to the main building and go in an unlocked door. There's no school resource officer. Why is the sheriff's department budget $11 million more than the budget for our schools? How come our kids aren't important enough for y'all to keep armed security guards there? If you're so worried about their security, why don't you hire guards?
Thank you.
Okay. Next, we have Mr. Bill McNutt.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm a Board of Elections member, and I enjoyed the presentations. I'm sorry I have to bring us back down to reality. And the reality is that as the Board of Elections member, I attended 7 public meetings over the last month. And in that period of time, we were talking in terms of the realignment of the voters in the voting places. That was our issue. At each of those meetings, the issue was brought up about this joint resolution that's being presented. And why are they trying to kick you out of the schools? Well, that wasn't the appropriate spot to go through the details of that. So we said we're working through it or trying to work through it. But the big question was, why are they doing that? Well, you know, that's my question. Why are they doing it? What's the rationale? What's the reason? Well, what was said as the rationale was safety issues. Safety issues. And they talked in terms of labeling the voters that come in as gun-toting sexual deviants. And they didn't want them interfering with their children. Well, I wouldn't want them interfering with my children either, but there's no documentation or report of any such event. It's a fabrication. It's a hot button item. It's something that gets publicity. And that's one of the reasons why I believe that it's being brought forth. one of the things that I did last month was present to you folks what I call a brief, and it points out that the joint resolution is not following 2 articles of the state constitution and 4 existing statutory directives. It's just not in compliance. And of course, my concern is we have to follow our oaths. I took the same oath as you did, the oath that we support and defend the Constitution and the laws of North Carolina. Why aren't we doing that? There are other ways of resolving this alleged issue. They should be addressed. I know that the board asked the executive director of the Board of Education to contact both boards, either their chairman or their body, and reach out and discuss this issue so we could resolve it amicably. But the response from the commission was no. The response from this Board of Education was, it'll be a waste of time. My time's up. Thank you for your time, unless you have any questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Mr. Jason Kimball.
All right, good afternoon, members of the board. I come to you today, as many of you know who I am, but I'm not here as an attorney, and I'm not here as a district court judge, but I'm here as a parent and a father. And I'm here today for the actions that have been taking place, not only to my son, but his best friend, where they were mistreated and arbitrarily and capriciously removed as members of the Triton High School baseball team by an unethical and deceitful head coach, Mr. Reese, and a corrupt and arbitrary athletic administration of Triton High School. Let me preface this with starting with that in the words of a great, great human being and the words of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., that an injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Amen. And that is what we have here at Triton High School, where an individual head coach can arbitrarily and capriciously pull aside 2 boys for alleging that they conducted in some sort of prohibited conduct, that being a fight, when there was no such fight that ever existed on the student activity bus. There had been no investigation whatsoever prior to pulling not only my son aside by himself alone in the hallway to tell him he's kicked off the team and doesn't want to hear an explanation from my son. Same thing happened to the other fella. Pulled to the side, said, "You're off the team." He said, "For what?" He said, "For fighting." He said, "Well, let me tell you what happened." He said, "I don't want to hear it." On top of that, when I get a phone call, I'm sitting at the courthouse, that I need to go to Triton High School. So I get to Triton High School to figure out what's going on. Well, by the time I've got there, the wagons had been circled and the decision had been made without one student, one athlete on that bus being interviewed by either the head coach or the athletic director, only to be met with the phrase from the athletic director that, "I will back my coaches, I will protect my coaches." They ought to be ashamed if that is what come out of an athletic director's mouth. His job is to protect our students and the integrity of high school athletics, not to protect his coaches. How about if that was somebody's daughter that went to a coach or to the athletic director with the concern of some serious misconduct? I'm sure that would not be swept under the rug. Well, neither should this. When these boys, they have an interest, a constitutional right to participate in these sports. Which brings me to the matter of these boys were kicked off the team without any investigation whatsoever. The head coach was the judge, jury, and executioner. These boys were afforded no due process, which involves something as simple as 1, notice of what they did or did not do, 2, the opportunity to be heard, and they were denied that and arbitrarily kicked off the baseball team. I could go much further, but I see
Thank you.
my
Your
is
time
out.
has expired. Thank you.
I can be available. Many of you have my contact information. I'll be happy to speak to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Jesse Godwin.
I can assure you 3 minutes is going to be too much for me. I'm not going to be talking that long. But I'm just following up on what Jason presented tonight. I'm the grandfather, and I'm the one that goes to the school, I'd say 75% of the time. I was in this meeting with Mr. Smith and Coach Reese, and I first want to say this. I think Harnett County has some of the best teachers, coaches, and all in the state of North Carolina. And one of the best, Brooks Matthews is one of the best on the board too. But I'll get back to the real issue. I was in this meeting, and Jason's right. This athletic director, Mr. Smith, to me, he made a statement. I'm backing my coaches, what they say goes, and that's the end of it. He says, and if he gets messed up or moved, I'm resigning. And I told him, I said, that's the only good thing you said. You should resign if you're not going to protect these kids. And I tell you, one other thing, if you look at this team for the last 2 years, when a guy gets on the team, he makes the team, he's not guaranteed he's going to be on that team. Because Reese will kick him off and move somebody else up there to replace him if he makes an error. Who ain't never made an error? And that's the way he looks at it. So yes, our grandson and his best friends, so if you go by 95 Brandon Drive, you'll see these boys at my house every Friday night or Saturday night. And one other statement I want to say. This team, if you look at, needs diversity. For the last 2 years, there's been no diversity on this team. And if you come to my house on a Friday night or a Saturday night, you'll see kids of all color and race in my house. That's the way my grandson is. So I'm very upset with it, and I think this board will be taking care of a problem down the road if you deal with this issue with Reese, or at least do your own investigation to find out what really is going on over there at Triton High School. And I'll say again, and I'll close, we got some of the best teachers, some of the best coaches, and all at this school. But it's like a rotten apple. If you don't get it out of the pile, you're going to have all rotten. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Rebecca Brock.
Good evening, Board of Education and staff. Rebecca Brock. I'm in the Northwest Harnett area. I wanted to congratulate Brookie and all of the principals and staff who've done a great job to move that needle just a little bit. I know that we're still facing lots of extreme issues, but man, congratulations. That was really nice to be able to see the improvement over the last years. It was hard won, and small advances incrementally change things. And I know this system has a large low-income population. They have a growing ESL population. They have behavioral issues, and they're short of teachers, right? So I'm just saying, as an individual, I am paying attention, staying engaged, and I have to speak up. The budget season is coming. And Mr. Powell, you just said you believe and want this to be the best school system in North Carolina. Then put your money where your mouth is, because you will need to listen to what the principals are going to tell the staff about what they're going to need for their needs for the next school year. And because, Mr. Matthews, you are sitting on the commission board, which you know I disagree with, I would hope that you could be educating your commissioners about what it's going to take to have a first-class school system here in Harnett County. Because it's really important for all of us to depend on you and the board to get a first-class system going. And I don't think it's just by taking the same thing and the same budget that you all gave to the Board of Commissioners last year that you will give this year. So I am hoping that you will hear from these principals what they truly need, which could be better pay, more assistance, some kind of student involvement with mental health. I don't know, but there's probably many things that these qualified people could tell you what will make a first-class education system in Harnett County. I'm tired of it always being a low-wealth county. We could have better schools, better than 15 Ds, 8 Cs, 2 Fs, 1 A, and 1 B. So please put your money where your mouth is. It's March, the budget's due in May. They still have time to talk about it. Thank you.
That concludes our public comment session, and now we'll move along to our superintendent update. And Mr. Matthews.
Thank you, Chairman Powell. I appreciate that. Members of the board, let me just begin by giving you a brief follow-up on the brush fire that I notified you about this weekend behind Western Harnett Middle School. Thanks to the efforts of Mr. Jamie Johnson with our maintenance department and Mr. Garland McDowell with our grounds department and their staffs, we were able to have school as scheduled today. While there was still a smoky smell around the school and inside the school this morning, conditions improved quickly and the day progressed normally. While we're certainly hopeful that the conditions that we're currently facing right now concerning the fire danger will improve, and that hopefully will happen without the possible severe weather that they're talking about on Wednesday. We stand vigilant in trying to make sure we have the safest environment possible for our kids. I would also like to recognize Mr. Godfrey. I believe March is his birthday month, March 15th, I believe, Mr. Godfrey, so happy birthday to you. I also like to remind you, daylight savings time comes in March the 9th. I don't think they've changed that yet, but anyway, there's been some talk about it, but right now it's still on the calendar for March the 9th. And our next board meeting will be a board work session that will be scheduled for March the 17th at 9 a.m. And Mr. Chairman, that concludes my comments unless there's specific questions for me.
Does anyone have a question? Thank you, Mr. Matthews. Next, we have auxiliary services update, and that will be Mr. Pearson.
Chairman Powell, members of the board, thank you. Last week, we had our 5-year review from DPI of our school nutrition services. They come in every 5 years and really go over everything with a fine-tooth comb, records, cash registers, systems, serving, portion sizes, all of those things. And our staff did a great job. And our exit report from that, the corrective actions that we have to take are extremely minor, some small adjustments and some procedures. But they were super complimentary, both of our office staff and our school nutrition managers. And so thank you to those sites that they visited. They were well prepped and well prepared. It's a nerve-wracking time to have DPI in, but again, they were very complimentary, and the actions that we have to take are minimal and easy to fix. So until they come back in another 5 years, we should be good to go. But we certainly were glad to get through that review. You'll see on tonight's agenda multiple things related to construction, so we'll cover those as we get to those action items, and I'll give you updates on the ongoing construction projects. On the school safety side, the statewide tornado drill was scheduled for Wednesday. That has been postponed because of the incoming weather, so that is now moved to Friday of this week, so all of our schools will be conducting their annual tornado drill in correlation with Severe Weather Awareness Week across the state. We did get some good news last week. We were awarded a grant by the North Carolina Center for Safer Schools we had applied for back in October. So we did get a decent amount of funding. The plan is to use this for increasing access to AEDs in many of our schools, increasing vape detectors in our schools, some support for schools with radios and communication needs that they have, as well as some access controls, some areas of weakness. So really excited about that. All things that we need that we would have had to spend some of our own money on here upcoming. So we're appreciative of that grant. Also do want to just keep you in the loop. You may be aware that House Bill 605 requires every North Carolina school to have a threat assessment team. Just want you guys to be in the loop that we are presenting all that to the principals. They've been preliminary trained on that, and as we've spoken with each of them, they will get formal training and forms on all of that here in the coming weeks. Part of this requirement is that we report back to DBI the number of threat assessments that we conducted, and so I will also share that information with you guys as we reach those benchmarks. Essentially what this is when we have a student who maybe has some concerning behaviors or concerning statements, it gives us a chance to really kind of dive deeper into them. Unfortunately, many times in some of these tragic school events, there's always been warning signs that people have said, hey, we noticed this, we noticed that. So this is a chance for us to be working on that. So I think it'll be a very positive thing as it is established. On the athletics side, winter sports have concluded with the exception of the Overhill High School women's basketball team. They have made it into the third round of the state playoffs, so the Sweet 16. They play tomorrow night at Roseville High School, so good luck to them. And congratulations to Kevin Spears from Harnett Central High School. He was the state champion for the triple jump in indoor track. So we've invited Kevin to the April board meeting, hopefully for some recognition. And then I've been giving you updates about the realignment of conferences. Draft 3 of that realignment did come out. Overhill's High School Conference did adjust a little bit better travel. They still do include Richmond County, so they're right around an hour from there. But that's not really that unfamiliar. For instance, Triton High School will travel to Union Pines High School for games, which is right about an hour as well. So overall, we were pleased with the adjustments in that third draft, and those should be being finalized here over the coming days. The state was actually hearing appeals on that today. So pretty much good news on that end. So unless you have questions for me, that concludes my report.
Are there questions for Mr. Pearson?
One question.
Yes,
How
ma'am.
many schools were involved in the audit?
There were 5 schools that were visited during the school day.
Any others? First of all, please give our regards and thanks to Ms. Brown and her staff for this good report.
Absolutely.
And I'm also happy to hear that Overhills will be a little bit closer anyway because that was a lot of long distance drives for draft 1 and 2. So
Yeah.
hopefully draft 3 is better. So. Thank you, Mr. Pearson. Moving along to curriculum and instruction, and Ms. Ferguson.
Chairman Powell, members of the board, our access testing continues in K-12. As you know, this is the test that we have to give all EL students for English language proficiency every year. We're having mid-year meetings with our principals and reviewing all available data. We're discussing plans from now until May. We'll discuss resources, pacing guides, progress checks, walkthroughs, teacher vacancies, and any support needed. Our elementary, middle, and high schools are participating in the NC check-ins. Walkthroughs continue with the principals, making this a priority to support instruction. And just want to give a shout out tonight to our top 10 schools for the number of walkthroughs completed by the principal. Triton High School, Johnsonville Elementary School, Harnett Central Middle School, Highland Middle School, Dunn Elementary School, Overhills Elementary School, Coates Elementary School, Irwin Elementary School, Harnett Central High School, and Western Harnett Middle. These are our top 10. And I can also say for all of our schools, they have doubled the amount from last year at this time. So they're really in those classrooms giving feedback to our teachers. Schools are offering tutoring. Schools have during school and after school tutoring available at different sites. So I would encourage parents to communicate with your child's school if you feel that your child would benefit from tutoring. Our M-Class middle of the year data had increases at all kindergarten, first and second grade levels. We were especially excited over an 18% in the kindergarten number of students who met or exceeded the benchmark. And just look at the top 3 schools at each grade level. At kindergarten, Lafayette Elementary School had a 36% gain. Ben Haven, a 34%, and Dunn Elementary, a 23%. So our kindergarten teachers are really killing it right now. First grade, Anderson Creek Primary School with 12%, Highland Elementary with 12%, and Ben Haven with 10%. And again, this is the number of students who met or exceeded the benchmark. Second, our top 3 were Anderson Creek Primary at 12%, Johnsonville Elementary at 8%, and Boone Trail at 7%. All schools participate in Black History Month. I've shared a list of events and activities with you. You have that. We had Harnett County's first Lego League tournament for our middle schools at Western Harnett Middle School on February the 17th. All of our middle schools did have teams and participated. First place was Dunn Middle School, second place Coates Irwin Middle School, and third place Harnett Central Middle School. We had the district spelling bee at Irwin Elementary School on February the 25th. Congratulations to Antonella Guzman from Highland Middle School. She will represent Harnett County Schools at the Scripps National Spelling Bee in Washington, D.C. The high school honors course was held at Overton Hills High School on February the 27th. This is always a great event. All schools had participants and everyone did a great job. And as you know, they practiced that day and performed that night. AIG, we're offering a local endorsement class taught by Dr. Chris Godwin at Campbell University. This allows our teachers to be locally endorsed for AIG in Harnett County, and hopefully this will lead them to completing the requirements to add AIG certification to their license. And we have 30 teachers participating in this class. We are working on a Golden Leaf grant. We are hoping to have a grant for Harnett Central Middle School that will focus on math. And it's based on Marzano's high reliability schools model. And the next one we're hoping to do is the personalized competency-based education at Dunn Middle School. The competition is pretty fierce. There will only be 10 for each cohort across the state. But we do feel good about our chances, and we're working on those applications now. They're due March the 21st, and we'll keep you updated. And both principals, I have reached out to them, and they're in support of this. Okay. Oh, I want to tell you real quick of our upcoming events. We have the Battle of the Books, and this is always a fun time. So elementary is March the 13th at 9:30 a.m. at Gentry. March the 14th is the middle school Battle of the Books. That's also at Gentry. And March the 18th is the high school Battle of the Books at 9:30 at Gentry. And again, Mrs. Jennifer Bird and her staff do a phenomenal job with this, but it is really interesting to hear these children and what they know about these books. We have the Harnett County Schools Elementary First Lego League on March the 21st at Irwin Elementary School. And then we have our all-county jazz band clinic performance. And as you know, this started out of a group of students and a teacher wanting this, and it has grown, so we're very proud of this. And they will practice after school on April the 1st. They'll practice all day April the 2nd and perform that night. And the site is to be determined, but the performance is April the 2nd, and I'll keep you updated. And those are my updates for tonight, unless you have questions.
Are there questions for Ms. Ferguson? Okay, well, thank you, Ms. Ferguson.
Thank you.
Okay, moving along to Human Resources, Ms. Thompson.
Good evening, Chairman Powell and members of the board. A quick update on hiring. We are at an all-time low here for a while. We only have 19 classroom vacancies and 16 EC and other various vacancies in that area, and we have 33 classified vacancies. That's an all-time low for us over the past few years, so I think the principals and schools and the district personnel are working really hard on filling those vacancies. I will no longer be telling you the fully hired sites because next year's information will be bleeding into this year's information. It really won't be completely accurate because now we have the resignations. We've sent out intent forms to schools, and that information has been shared back with us, so we know of vacancies. There are people still working that will be leaving at the end of the year that, you know, their vacancies will bleed over into each year. And so I hope that I'll pick that back up as soon as we kind of clear that up, maybe in the summer. I can give a better picture of where we are on that. But as always, if you have any specific questions, I can't answer them and tease out the data that way if you have any questions. Normally at this time, I always talk about the NESIS report, and I am holding off on that until the work session because we had a few snow days and our principals have worked so diligently to keep those numbers up. I know some of them needed just a little bit more time, and so we decided to give them a few more days to catch back up to their normal standard on that. So I will report on those numbers at the work session this month. The R&R team has been attending multiple university job fairs over the past months, and in future months they'll plan to attend. At each fair, we share candidate information and resumes with principals. This month, we were at NC State and Campbell University, and in the coming months, we're scheduled to attend App State, East Carolina, UNC Wilmington, and UNC Pembroke. We will host our annual job fair on March 31st from 4 to 6 at the Harnett County Resource Center and Library. We're also thrilled to announce that we've extended district hires to high-quality educators from EPI and Participate Learning for the upcoming 25-26 school year. To support this process, an international staff new hires 25-26 Google site has been created and shared with principals, allowing them to view and select teachers for their school sites. It's regularly updated with new candidates as they're recommended for hire. We're also working to schedule another round of interviews with EPI to bring on more EC, math, science, and elementary candidates. One thing, we do extend that district hire invitation. Principals hire, they are free to hire any graduates of North Carolina schools, and then they fall back on that pool first of the international teachers for hire before they hire any staff who's going to be licensed in a non-traditional way. Our international staff continues to participate in professional development, and this month they are working with the EC department. We are hoping that all international staff attend that. HR and Transportation met with all schools last week, some virtual and some in person, to discuss transportation issues. Currently, our biggest concern is a lack of sub-drivers. Most schools are okay with their drivers as long as they don't have a missing driver for sickness, and this has certainly been a hard time of the year with all the sickness that has been going around. Remember, DMV, the same plan is in place, and I've spoke about that many times, that we really don't have a hiring issue with bus drivers. We have a training issue with bus drivers. And we continue to be able to train 2 employees a week for driving the bus. We have 18 employees scheduled to complete their driving training between now and the beginning of May. And then we will continue to have training from the January bus class as time permits in the weeks to come. So you can see if we could catch up and get all of our people trained, we would have a good number of subs, because we've got like 40 or 50 folks waiting in the wings to try to be trained on the school bus. So they go through the written part and then they have to go through the bus part, and it's just it's a very long and tedious process. We plan to have another bus class in May, but you know even when you have a bus class, you're months in the trenches trying to get them trained. We'll be working around the EOG testing, of course. We have completed meetings with principals. We're calling this teacher equity meetings because this involves the access of students have to highly qualified teachers. And Mr. Pearson and Ms. Taylor have visited identified sites and discussed about supports in place to help those teachers and how we can ensure the success around those teachers and make sure we have effective teachers no matter where the students are assigned. A focus of this year for HR has been something called stay interviews at the school level, and we have encouraged principals to have conversations with key employees at each site to learn more about why folks stay in Harnett County schools. And in keeping with that practice, HR will host our own round of stay interviews with principals later this month to learn about why leaders choose to stay in Harnett County, how we can better support their leadership efforts from an HR perspective, and discuss other HR issues and concerns. As part of that teacher equity plan, we support schools with a disproportionate percentage of beginning teachers. We choose to work with assistant principals at those sites to lead some professional development with them. And we've been recognizing on building climate and culture that promotes a retention of quality staff so that new employees, like beginning teachers, are in need in fewer numbers. And we are using the data from the teacher working conditions survey from last year, and leaders are soliciting feedback from current employees to best understand the needs of the school. In that same vein, HR is working. Mr. Matthews has tasked us, and he's working with Terrafish at the county level, the possibility of us having some child care support for our employees. And so we have surveyed our employees to ask if they could have child care here in the district. Would that impact their retention rate here? And so out of that response, it's about 50-50. We have about 55% of our employees who do need child care, 45% do not. So that tells you we probably have a young teaching force right now. And the age range for that is broad, from newborn to 5 years old. All those people surveyed that needed it, 93% would be interested in their children being able to attend a pre-K associated with the school district. And of course, they're looking for something that's affordable, quality, close to their schools, that's safe, and has flexible hours. So we are continuing to work on this to find avenues around that, and maybe we might be able to have some pilot sites for that, at least one site maybe for the upcoming year. But when asked, do you think a preschool program would help you stay in Harnett County long-term, the answer to that was 77% said yes. And do you think that a preschool program would help retain other staff members? And that was 89% yes. So that shows that that's something that we should look into if we could do that to help our teachers here in this district and support them in that area. And we have our continued work with mentors, and of course our staff did a great job during the snow mitigating any risk management things that happen when snow and ice are around. We are going to continue with our national cohort meetings, for national boards, and our continued work with international teachers. We have a podcast called Teacher Talks to Go, and we'll be continuing those into the spring. That concludes my report, unless you have any questions for me.
Are there additional questions for Ms. Thompson?
Chairman Powell, I got a comment I'd like to make. Thank you, Ms. Thompson. And many people don't know, but we'd like for you to know that we've got people to drive if we can get them trained. I mean, we can't get them trained. The DMV has been in shambles for the last 8 years under the former leadership of the governor. For the past 8 years, it's been a mess, and it's still a mess. Hopefully, this new governor will get it straight or do something other than what it's been the last 8 years, so we can quit putting stress on our bus drivers, have enough of subs to where they can step in and take over and sub for them. So I hope that'll happen this next 4 years, hopefully.
Anything else for Ms. Thompson? Thank you, Ms. Thompson. Next, we have our student services update. Mr. White.
Good evening, Chairman Powell and members of the board. Inside of your board packets, you will find the Star Academy report and the district release reassignment report through the last week of February. This month, you'll begin to see transfers populating for the 2025-2026 school year, as is normal starting in February here in Harnett County. March the 2nd through the 8th is recognized as National School Social Work Week. National School Social Work Week is a time to recognize and celebrate the invaluable contributions of our school social workers across Harnett County schools. Throughout the week, we have asked schools to highlight the essential role of school social workers in playing and supporting our academic, social, and emotional growth of our students. Our Harnett County team works to unite our community to ignite positive change in the lives of our students, families, and schools, and we appreciate their contribution to our district. So a big shout out to our school social workers. They work very, very hard, and I'm proud of the efforts and strides they've made this year. As a reminder, the window has opened for all 25-26 school year in-county transfers. That window will be open from February 1st through April the 1st, 2025. As a reminder, for in-county transfers, families do not need to complete the application every year if they've been approved previously. Families approved for transfer are allowed to stay at their reassigned school through the highest grade available at the school. In addition to the staff that we have on our mental health support team, our district will launch our virtual mental health partnership with Hazel Health beginning on March the 17th, 2025 at the pilot schools of Harnett Central Middle School, Lillington Shawtown Elementary, Star Academy, the Harnett County Early College, and our virtual school. Hazel Health will provide mental health teletherapy to students and their families upon request. And so the hours of availability for the virtual mental health program will be from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. and students can access that at school, at home, or after school. And so if this pilot is successful, we look to expand it across the district this year. And we're also going to have an opportunity for families to be able to benefit from that during the summer months as well. I would like to provide the board with a Yonder Pouch update, which has kind of been a hot topic around the district. I want to talk to you a little bit about, we've seen some positive results at the pilot schools of Western Harnett High School, Star, and Highland Middle School. All principals have reported a decrease in the number of distractions involving mobile devices and discipline referrals since we started the pilot. I had the opportunity last week to watch students enter Western Harnett High School, and it was great to see how they have adapted to having the pouches in school and how organized the process was. Since implementation, we have had Johnson County Schools come and visit us to see what we do, and we've spoken with other surrounding districts about our experiences and have been able to share what we have learned in the short time since launch. Before the school year concludes, it's our expectation that our pilot school principals will present to the board and share data with you to see if this initiative is worth expanding to other schools next year. As we told student advisory this past week, we're not going to expand to all 29 schools next year. It's kind of a piece process here, and so we'll look at the next slate of schools within the next few weeks to determine if that's something that we want to do. This spring, we'll be expanding our digital hall pass program to more schools here in the district, and we'll also be piloting the school status digital attendance program at North Harnett Primary, Andrew Elementary, and Lafayette Year-Round Elementary here in the spring. School status is a digital program that will allow us to be able to track the attendance data for students a bit more efficiently. Also, that program will send the attendance letters out for us, as opposed to us having to put those letters together and mail them, which will save us a little bit of money as far as the district is concerned with regards to doing that. What we're hoping is in areas where we're not able to provide a social worker every day, this platform will allow school staff to be able to access it and be a bit more efficient in the process of trying to get students in school and keeping them there. And so we're excited about it. Johnston uses this platform. We've talked to Johnston fairly regularly over the last few months to see their pros and cons about it. And so there are more pros about it than there were cons. And so we'll start that pilot here in the spring and see how it goes. Harnett County Schools will receive the state's first ever Legacy Award for our work as a military-friendly district. Representatives from NCDPI will be here at our May or June board meeting to present that award, and we'll keep you updated on that. And finally, a huge thank you to Harnett Central Middle School for having me as a guest speaker at their Black History programs last Friday. The program was great, and a big shout out to Mrs. Black, Mr. Davis, and the entire staff for doing a great job of pulling everybody together and working together. Those students were well behaved, and it was just a really good time. This concludes my Student Support Services report for this evening, unless there are any questions.
Other questions for Mr. White?
Not anymore.
I think you had a few, but you answered them, so that was good. Thank you, Mr. White. Moving along to Financial Services Report, and Mr. Cox.
Thank you, Chair Powell.
Keep
Board
looking for you
members.
over there.
Here are a few things that we recently happened in finance or that we have going on for the month of March. We successfully processed another payroll for our staff last week. I know they appreciate that. Stipends for additional letters modules that teachers have completed will be paid the month of March. Speaking of payroll, our payroll folks have been working on getting the payroll system set up for summer programs that you approved last month at the board meeting there. We're also working on cleaning up the payroll system for leave balances that have expired based on North Carolina General Statute for teachers who have terminated employment with Harnett County Schools and did not pursue employment with other public school districts and transfer that leave. Last week, we also met with Mark III, who is our provider for supplemental insurance benefits, to begin discussing the upcoming supplemental insurance offering for our staff for next school year. That open enrollment period has been set from April 28th to May 9th. The only changes they recommended on that call with the providers was to increase our employer-paid and voluntary life insurance by 1 cent per $1,000 of coverage. We'll also be having some follow-up meetings with them and their representatives to ensure that these benefit offerings are the best that we can currently offer our employees before accepting what they presented. Mr. Matthews and I have a meeting later this week to further discuss the superintendent's recommended budget, and we'll have more to share at the March work session. The budget will be the superintendent's budget, and the closer line to the board priorities, the smoother the budget process goes. So with that said, Any priorities that the board has that you would like for the superintendent considered, please reach out so we can consider those as we are working on our budget prep. And a reminder for the budget calendar that you approved last month, March 17th, at the work session, we will have budget discussion. Currently scheduled for the superintendent's recommended budget will be the April 7th meeting. If it follows trends from last year, we pretty much talked about it at the March work session. We brought any recommendations back to you at that April board meeting and approved, took the superintendent's budget and turned that into the board budget at that same meeting. Don't have to follow that process, but that's how it worked out last year. If it doesn't work out that way, then we'll have to schedule an additional meeting because we don't have an April work session to approve the budget as the board's budget. On May 5th, the intent is to have the budget delivered to the commissioners, and then we'll follow up with a to-be-determined date to actually meet as a joint session with the commissioners to present the local budget and the local budget priorities of the board. And that concludes my report, unless you have any other questions.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Cox. Next, we have our Public Information Officer report, and Ms. Farrell.
Chairman Powell, members of the board, and community, good evening. I'm excited to share this month's public information update, highlighting moments we've celebrated across the district and previewing what's to come. At the beginning of each school year, the Public Information Office provides all school administrators with the district celebrations calendar that includes information on special observances and holidays. This calendar can be used to plan school activities and incorporate these dates into instructional activities in ways to stimulate and broaden student learning. This past month, we had the opportunity to recognize the following: Black History Month, honoring the past, inspiring the future. Harnett County Schools celebrates the change makers and achievements, resilience, and contributions of Black leaders, innovators. Harnett Central Middle School hosted a Black History program and fashion show. Assistant Superintendent Mr. White was a guest speaker. Dunn Middle School will hold a Black History Bowl to commemorate the achievements of Black leaders in history. And Highland Elementary's fourth grade students will host a musical assembly with a wax museum of prominent Black leaders. CTE Month took place, and so during our February board meeting, our CTE director, Ms. Hardy, presented highlights from our CTE department. Community, as you know, CTE programs prepare students for high-demand careers, equipping them with real-world skills and hands-on training. National Hot Breakfast Month took place. A nutritious breakfast fuels our students daily for learning and success. Our dedicated school nutrition team works hard every morning to serve warm, healthy meals to keep our students energized during the day. Love the Bus Month. February is nationally recognized as Love the Bus Month. Schools and communities across the country come together to honor the iconic yellow school bus and the dedicated drivers who transport our students safely every day. Our transportation department did an amazing job highlighting many of our bus drivers on our social media pages. So when you see a bus driver, just go ahead and give them a smile. National School Counseling Week took place February 3rd through 7th. During this week, we celebrate the incredible impact of our school counselors, middle, high school, and elementary school, who support, guide, and inspire our students daily. We appreciate our dedicated counselors for their commitment to student success. For our athletic spotlight in February, we spotlighted the Harnett Central swim team. The Harnett Central High School swim team represented the district at the February NCHSAA 3A swim meet. Congratulations to all of our swimmers. The CNI team has had a lot of success with HCS this past month and held many special programs, including middle all-county band, middle school first Lego League, and our high school chorus, along with many other events. Tonight, we are highlighting our Spelling Bee champion. During our Spelling Bee, each school crowned a Spelling Bee champ, and these talented students competed for a district title. Congratulations to our spelling bee champion, Antonella Guzman from Highland Middle School. We are proud to celebrate the incredible spelling skills of our students. Miss Wendy Nash and the CNI team did an amazing job and had a room full of support from the community. As we look ahead to this month, we have even more exciting things on the horizon, as you see. Our Harnett County Schools Job Fair will be held on March 31st from 4 to 6 at the Harnett County Library and Resource Center. Please follow our social media pages for more information on how you can join our team and love it here. Harnett Off Broadway, we are celebrating music and arts in our schools. Don't miss this year's Harnett Off Broadway performances, celebrating music and arts education. Mark your calendar and grab your tickets. Go ahead and get your phones out. And scan our QR code for tickets. The program was initiated over 30 years ago to encourage creativity and effective teaching and to increase the cooperation between our community and the public school system. So every dime that we receive goes to classroom learning through our mini grants that we give out to our teachers. Board members, thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone have a question for Ms. Farrell? Okay, thank you, Ms. Farrell. Okay, moving along to item number 12, consent agenda items, and I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve consent agenda, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, the chairman votes aye.
Abate, aye.
Gainey, aye.
Godfrey, aye.
Hearing no nay votes, the motion is approved. Moving along to action items. Our first action item is to review and consider approval of structured cabling for Western Harnett Middle and High Schools. And Ms. Byrd.
Good evening, Mr. Powell and members of the board. The Harnett County Schools Digital Teaching and Learning Department would like to leverage E-rate funding to replace the structured cabling inside of Western Harnett Middle and Western Harnett High School for the next school year. This work is completely E-rate eligible because we're filing under the state's contract. I used the vendors that they had already vetted. And of all the vendors that we sent it out to, we had 2 to respond, Applied Network Solutions and Encore Technology Group. And you can see the prices down below. You can see the total cost, what USAC will pay, what NCDPI will pay, and what Harnett County Schools will pay. Harnett County Schools is 0, as you see, so that's the reason we want to leverage the state's contract with that. And so we recommend that you approve for us to move forward with Encore Technology Group.
And this will be at no cost to us, just for the record.
None whatsoever.
Thank you. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion of approval for structured cabling for Western Harnett Middle and High School as presented.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Is there additional discussion?
Just a point of clarification, that's the Encore Technology Group, correct?
Yes, sir.
Is that your motion, Mr. Godfrey?
What?
The Encore Technology Group?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Okay. Any additional discussion or questions from Ms. Byrd? Chairman votes aye.
Abate, aye.
Gainey, aye.
Hearing no nay votes, the motion carries.
Thank you so much.
Ms. Byrd. Okay. Next up, we have a review and consider approval of updated summer program dates. Ms. Ferguson.
Yes, sir. Chairman Powell, members of the board, you approved these dates at our last meeting, but if you look at the highlighted areas, we tweaked the reading camp dates and added it for the year round to fit in their schedule. So the highlighted yellow were the changes, and we just wanted to have those changes approved by you also.
Okay.
And it's just to add the year-round school to the reading camp.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the amended summer program dates.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Is there additional discussion? Hearing none, the chairman votes aye.
Abate, aye.
Gainey, aye.
Godfrey, aye.
Hearing no nay votes, the motion carries.
Thank you.
Next, we have review and consider a joint resolution by the Harnett County Board of Commissioners and the Harnett County Board of Education regarding school buildings as voting sites. And Mr. Matthews.
Yes, Chairman Powell, members of the board, you have before you the recommended resolution. This initiated at the joint legislative meeting that the commissioners had with our legislative delegation shortly after the first of the year, in which a request was made to the delegation to help us to give you, the Board of Education, the say over whether schools would be used for voting sites or not, rather than the Board of Elections. And they asked that the Board of Elections and the County Commissioners provide them with a joint resolution requesting such, and that's what you have before you tonight. I know there's been quite a bit of controversy and feelings expressed as that this was to remove schools from voting sites. I would quote that the resolution actually says, quote, remove Harnett County schools as voting places unless expressly consented to by the Board of Education. So in other words, you as the Board of Education would still have authority to grant schools as voting sites if you so determine. So that's basically what I'm presenting to you this evening. It was approved by the commissioners on the 11th of February, and I would recommend your approval as well.
He wants you to read it if you won't mind.
Okay. Joint resolution by the Harnett County Board of Commissioners and Harnett County Board of Education requesting a local statutory act that would remove school buildings as voting places. Whereas pursuant to NC General Statute 163-128, the Harnett County Board of Elections, herein referred to as the Board of Elections, retains the sole authority to establish, alter, discontinue, or create new election precincts or voting places as it may deem expedient. And whereas pursuant to NC General Statute 163-129A, the Board of Elections retains the sole authority to demand and use any school or other state, county, or municipal building or a part thereof, or any other building or a part thereof, which is supported or maintained in whole or in part by or through tax revenues provided. And whereas the Board of Elections uses multiple Harnett County schools as voting places for early and election day voting, and whereas the Harnett County schools as voting places for early and election day voting is disruptive to normal school operations and presents inherent health and safety risk for the students during school hours due to the access and presence of the general public on school grounds. And whereas pursuant to North Carolina State Board of Elections numbered memo 2022-12, the use of law enforcement officers at a voting place is potentially a violation of 18 U.S.C. 594, thereby limiting the school's ability to provide adequate protection for its students. And whereas the Harnett County Board of Commissioners, hereinafter referred to as the Board of Commissioners, and the Harnett County Board of Education, hereinafter referred to as the Board of Education, desire to remove Harnett County schools as voting places unless expressly consented to by the Board of Education. And whereas the Board of Commissioners and Board of Education recommend that the Board of Elections use public or privately funded buildings other than schools, or to provide or procure by lease other suitable structures or parts thereof in which voting may be conducted in Harnett County. Now therefore be it resolved that the Harnett County Board of Commissioners and the Harnett County Board of Education jointly request that a local act be adopted for the benefit of Harnett County, whereby North Carolina General Statute 163-129A be modified so that the Board of Elections shall not have the authority to demand and use a school or any part thereof as a voting place without the express consent of the school involved for the purpose of conducting registration and voting of any primary or election. And be it further resolved that this joint resolution be forwarded to those General Assembly representatives who serve Harnett County. Adopted this 11th day of February 2025 by the Harnett County Board of Commissioners, Matt Nickel, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Matthews.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the joint resolution as presented.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, the chairman votes aye.
Abate, aye.
Gainey, no.
Godfrey, aye.
With a 4-1, 4 ayes, 1 nay, the motion carries. Next, we have review and consider approval of Flatwoods Middle School bids for project.
Chairman
That
Powell,
is-
members of the board,
Mr.
in your packet, you see the bid tabs, which is essentially, we received all of the bids for the various subcontractors for Flatwoods Middle School, as well as the GMP, greatest maximum price. So probably of greatest interest to you there is the greatest maximum price that Metcon has tabulated all the bids, and they see Flatwoods Middle School costing $77,073,860.83 for construction. This is what they're saying is their guaranteed maximum. There are a number of contingencies in there that we feel like do give us some good protections. So first action is to approve this guaranteed maximum price that they have provided.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the greatest maximum price that Metcon's provided as presented.
Have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, the chairman votes aye.
Abate, aye.
Gainey, aye.
Godfrey, aye.
Hearing no nay votes, the motion carries. Okay. And next we have review and consider approval of Flatwoods Middle School change order. Mr. Pearson.
So this change order is related to the contract with Metcon. Now that we have approved a guaranteed maximum price, our contract obligations with them would change. And so the original contract of $382,365 was for the planning services and bid services. This new contract change order would include that guaranteed maximum price so that it is their pre-services that they've already provided plus the construction services.
Make a motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion?
I'm sure this will be the first of many.
Probably so, based on our past history. Definitely. Chairman votes aye.
Abate, aye.
Gainey, aye.
Hearing no nay votes, the motion carries. And I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we go into closed session pursuant to General Statute 143, 31811, A1, A3, and A6 to prevent the disclosure of confidential personnel files under GS 115C 321, to consider matters relating to initial employment of an individual employee, and to consult with the board's attorney in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Is there additional discussion? Chairman votes aye.
Abate, aye.
Gainey, aye.
Godfrey, aye.
The motion carries. We're now in closed session. After a motion and a second, we are now back in open session. Mr. Duke.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd just like to announce that there have been 3 settlements, and I want to put those in the record. The first, that the board settled in JVG versus the Harnett County School Board. The agreement included a reimbursement of $9,000 and confidential, non-monetary terms. The second was HB versus the Harnett County Board of Education. That agreement resulted in reimbursement of attorney's fees, and again, confidential, non-monetary terms. And then finally, that there was a bond issue, State versus Serrano, that was reached an agreement to forego the board's appeal on that bond forfeiture, and that has been settled satisfactory for $2,500. So I want to make those announcements, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Duke. Now the chair recognizes Mr. Matthews.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, Board, it would be my recommendation for the appointment of Dr. Maria Mano as an assistant principal in the vacant position at Overhills High School.
Mr. Chairman, pursuant to the recommendation from Mr. Matthews, I move that we appoint the candidate to assistant principal at Overhills High School.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Personnel item. Chairman votes aye.
Abate, aye.
Gainey, aye.
Motion is approved. Is there anything else?
That'll do it for me, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to adjourn, Mr. Chair.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.